Chapter 22. Celeste clutched Max's papers to her chest as she scurried down the hall to his office. Max was going to sell her? No way. She'd done everything he'd asked of her, ran his errands, cleaned his office, become the new face of the Freedom Project. She'd even ventured to remind him of things he wanted to do and meetings he wanted to schedule. He couldn't get rid of her now, could he? She slowed to a stop right outside his office. Maybe he could. After all, he had her papers as collateral, she thought the term was. And if she didn't make enough payments on her debt, she bit her lips together. In order to stay, she had to do something to become invaluable to him. But what? She took a deep breath as she opened his office door. She had to play it cool. Something would come up. It had to. I have your papers, Max. She stepped in. The office was empty. Max? He must have left. Celeste sighed. Max was always sending her for things and then disappearing by the time she got back. He never confided anything in her, and why would he? She was a slave girl. Even the papers in her hands were sealed and classified, not for her eyes. She gazed at the vault holding her freedom papers. When she was free, really free, then people would confide in her. Then she'd be important. Until then, she had a job to do, as insignificant as it was. She set his papers on his desk, then organized and polished it, glancing at his desk calendar as she worked. Oh dear. It seemed he forgot to update the time of his next meeting. It got changed from 8 to 7. Max always remembered these changes eventually, but usually at the last minute with lots of scrambling and fussing. He liked to be on time to things, early even. She hated seeing him so rushed. With a glance at the door, she uncapped a pen and marked the change on his calendar, as close to his handwriting as she could. As she put the pen back in its place, she sighed. She didn't want to leave this place, even if she didn't have to go back to Terrence. It had become like home to her. She knew everyone, and she was safe here. What was she going to do if Max made her leave? You saved my tail, buddy. Max walked into his office talking on his phone. Thanks a mil. And did you happen to take a look at the communicator schematics? I know you're no expert, but you do use a variety of devices in your line of work. So I figured you'd know somebody who... Yeah, it's a problem I keep having. Bioelectricity is not strong enough to power it. And my scientists say it's possible. Any ideas? All right, well, keep brainstorming, will you? Talk to you. Celeste watched Max dump the contents of his briefcase onto the desk. Papers spilled out everywhere, another thing she'd have to organize later. She shook her head. He wanted everything in place, but never found the time to put them there. Well, putting them there was her job, for now. Max, can I talk to you? In a minute. Max flopped in his chair. First, call Tess, and get me some coffee. It's gonna be a long day. Okay. Celeste walked out and used his secretary's phone to call Tess. Come to think of it, she hadn't seen Max's secretary in a long time. Maybe she got fired. And if she could be let go, there wasn't much hope for Celeste. She gulped, fixed Max's coffee, and returned to him. He had his nose in papers when she set it on his desk. Max picked up the coffee without looking up and heaved a sigh as he took a sip. Okay, Celeste, what do you want to talk about? Celeste took a deep breath. Are you going to get rid of me, Max? Max set his mug on the desk. Why would I do that? Celeste set it on a coaster. My interviews are over and I'm not sure what my job is. I know you spent a lot of money to buy my freedom. I heard if I can't work off my debt fast enough, the company will make you get rid of me. Who told you that? No one in particular, Celeste shrugged. It's a rumor I heard. Max narrowed his eyes at her. If you're trying to justify me keeping you around, lying to me is not the way to do it. Celeste started. Her ears lowered. Jordan and Janae. I heard them talking. Ah. Max leaned back in his chair. They're half right. I'm having trouble finding out what to do with you. The skills test we ran didn't reveal anything useful, and yet... He trailed off, playing with his whiskers. Celeste hung her head. So she was on her way out. But don't worry, Celeste. No one's going to make me get rid of you. Max picked up his papers again. If I let them do that, I'd have to admit I was wrong. And I make it a habit never to admit I'm wrong. If I get rid of you, it'll be because you can't hack it. So, there is a situation where you get rid of me. No one in this company is safe, Celeste. If they don't do their job properly, they won't have one. All you have to do is do your job well. But what is my job? Celeste wanted to say, but instead she nodded. Yes, Max. Good. Yo, Max! Tess walked in, smiling at Celeste as she went. Since when do you have her making your phone calls? Since yesterday, Max went back to his papers. I've been getting her to do new things, seeing how far she can go and how fast she can learn. So she's been running the office? And keeping me on schedule to boot. Max turned his eyes to Celeste. Don't think I haven't noticed your sad attempts at forging my handwriting. Celeste flinched. Ah. Tess grinned at Celeste. Explains the terrible memos. Not much of a typist, are you? Celeste held her hands behind her back. Never had a chance to learn. Max stroked his chin. Make a note, Celeste. You need typing and grammar lessons. Okay, Celeste said. Oh, and did you call the board to set up the meeting you wanted to have with them? Thanks for reminding me. Can you take care of it for me? Yes, sir. Celeste darted out of the office and sat at the secretary's desk to make the note. So he had noticed her efforts after all. This was fantastic. Now was the time to show him how useful she could be.